All right. Welcome back to the Financial Beast podcast. This is where we show healthcare owners how to harness the power of their practice, build wealth, go out and exit at the top of their game. I'm your host, your BFFF, your best financial friend forever, Eric Miller. And the topic of today, which is one of my favorites, it's called The Art of Letting Go. Because if you own a business, it is imperative at some point in time that you're going to be confronted with the activity of having to let go. If you really want to be able to escape or have any time for yourself. And I could not think of a better person to have on than Jamey Schrier of Practice Freedom U, who is going to help us discuss and talk about the art of letting go. So welcome, Jamey. And this is going to be fun because when you and I had talked before, I just remembered something that you had said that just kind of always stuck with me. And it was, when I realized that my business actually did better when I wasn't there. And I was like, oh yes, that's definitely something I wanted to discuss more with him. So, talk to me about letting go. Like what is this? What is this phenomenon of why this works so well? How do you do it?
BFFF. Thank you so much for having me on. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. So Eric, I appreciate you having me here. And yeah, man, I mean, sweeter words were never spoken. Letting go. Going out, I love it. Going out at the top of your game.
I know.
We go into business, right? I mean, you own your business or co-owner of your business. I own my business. I was in private practice, and we go into business because we want control. Because for whatever reasons, we don't want to be told what to do, when to do, how to do. We have this vision, this picture of how we want it to be, and we're like, I'm willing to take that risk. Take that, as I like to call it, more of an opportunity to lean into creating that. So we go into this world, Eric, as you know, we go into this world of, I want control. I want to own it. I want to own my time, own my calendar, work with the people that I want. So that's the mindset we go into this with. And as you know, there becomes
and then what happens?
Then what happens is we start going all in. We start doing everything we can, working the number of hours we need to work, which, that's what it takes in the beginning. But later on, especially as we start hiring other employees, we're working actually more. We're working even harder. And what I've learned myself, being someone that started out, it was just me and my wife, small private practice, physical therapy, outpatient orthopedic, yada, yada, yada. And then I started hiring people, and I realized that the people I was hiring were supposed to help me, was supposed to make my life easier. And I realized that wasn't the case. I was actually working more and more because I couldn't do one thing, or at least I chose not to do one thing. And that was to let go. And that was something that is very, very difficult to do and took me a long time to actually appreciate. So that's kind of the crux of it all when we kind of dive into this idea of, if you want to control something, you have to learn how to lose control a little bit.
So what couldn't you let go of, though, when you start hiring these people? Like what was it that?
I mean, there were things like, I hired a front desk person. That's something simple, right? I hired a front desk person, but I still was in this habit of sometimes answering the darn phone, especially if they didn't, it rang twice. If they didn't pick it up, I would just grab it. I don't know why I did it. I was just like, let me just grab the phone. The next thing you know, I'm now stuck on the phone, pissed off because I'm speaking to someone and helping them schedule when I'm paying someone to do it. So that's something, kind of simple that I was doing out of habit. And then, as far as treating, I mean, let's face it, Eric, nobody could treat as good as me. I can't let go of that stuff, man. I went to school. I went back to school. I got masters. I got doctorates. I got orthopedic certifications. I got all these fun letters, man. I can't let go of that. They're not as good as me. So I would hold on to it because I would tell myself a story that they're not good as me, which may be true that they're not good as me. But the problem is I became trapped in that. So now I'm paying someone to do a job, but I'm also holding on to that same job. So, with the front desk part, it was kind of interesting because, when I started learning about this idea of letting go, delegating is kind of another word for it. I wrote down, this was kind of an exercise that I did that people can certainly do. I wrote down all of the things I did in a given week, every possible thing I did in a given week. And I wrote down one of the things was I answered the phone occasionally. So this person that was kind of my coach was helping me go along with this. He's like, so what's keeping you from, continuing to do this or let it go? And I was like, I don't know. I just do it. So I went to my front desk person. I said, look, sometimes I answer the phone. She goes, yeah, I know. And I go, I can't imagine that you're happy with that. She goes, no, I'm not, but you're the boss. And I said, well, why didn't you ever tell me? She goes, you're the boss. And I was like, well, I don't want to answer the phone, but sometimes I answer it because it rings longer than I want. And then she started to explain, well, sometimes I have to leave the front desk to do other things. People ask me to do other things. And if the phone rings, it just rings. And I said, well, what can we do about it? So then the fact that I was willing to let go of that, we started figuring out how to create a better system. And it turns out that she's like, well, I can forward the phone to the back, train the aides to pick up the phone, and, make sure it's being done and handled the right way. So because I was willing to just let go of that one thing, we created a better process and a better experience for our patients. And she was happy because the last thing she wants is me hovering over her shoulder and start moving her over and start typing in, patient's name and all that. I'm happier because I actually got time back. So it was a win-win-win for everyone. It was a win for me, win for the staff, and win for the patient. So that's like a simple example, but it happens oh so often in our business.
Yeah. And the fact that it handled so simply too, when you just got into good communication with her, which I think a lot of owners just fail to do, because that handled pretty quickly because she was like, well, this is my consideration about this because you're the boss and, whatever. But once you guys got really into good communication, the problem solving mode came in, and then all of a sudden you fixed the problem. Well, and I think a lot of owners they don't do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but look at let's get into the psychological part of it. First of all, I was aware I was doing that. Now, I wasn't aware for a long time I was doing it. And I know, speaking to tons and tons of owners, a lot of us are not self-aware. We don't realize we're doing this type of thing. We don't realize we're wasting all of this time that other people could be doing actually better than we could. She's a lot better at taking care of the phone and the scheduling and all that than I am. So that self-awareness was big for me. Like, I'm like, okay, you know what? I realize I'm doing this. And then having the guts, the vulnerability of going to her and saying, look, I know I've been answering the phone. I can't imagine you're happy with that. And then being clear of the outcome. Stephen Covey said in his Habits of Successful People, he talked about, I believe it was habit number 2. It was about, it said, begin with the end in mind. Always begin with the end. Begin with the outcome that you want, because then it's easier to reverse engineer and work backwards. So the outcome I wanted is, well, for the phone to be answered before the third ring, for me not to have to do it, the phone not go into voicemail during working hours. Like that's what I wanted. And she said, okay. Now that she was clear in what the outcome was supposed to be, she then could use her brain to start problem solving it. Instead of having it all on me, for me to have to problem solve everything, I was now collaborating with her, collaborating with the aides. And yes, once you're clear on that, solution was quick. And then it was a matter of putting it in place, monitoring it, done. And that was a simple thing that I learned that wasn't that simple, but I started to apply it to so many other things in my business.
Yeah, I can totally. It's like a results-based management system where you know what the end result needs to look like exactly. And then once that's defined and clear, then that's the expectation. And then you can kind of work towards that. Like you had said something about like most people are not aware of the things that they're doing. And I believe that 100%. Like, you look at self-sabotage of most people, they're not aware that they're doing it. I mean, because most rational people would not continue to do it if it was like, well, I know this is bad for me, but I'm still going to continue to do it. I'm sure there's some people out there that do that. How do you make owners aware, though, of things that they're doing that are destructive like that?
You got to shed light on it.
Is there things that you can, yeah.
You have to shed.
Is there like checklists or questions that you can have, like what are you doing, or just take inventory of what you're actually doing in a day? Because I think they'd probably be surprised if they really listed down all the things that they're doing. Like, oh my God, I really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we use a tool in our program called the activity organizer. And the activity organizer is taking a intake of all the activities, all the tasks that you do in a given week, or it could be a couple of weeks. And you just list them all. It's as simple as that, listing them all. But the challenge I see that people have in doing this exercise sometimes is become very vague. They'll say, well, I do patient care, I do some admin. No. You have to be very, very specific in where exactly your time is going. It's a time audit. And what the time audit does, if done correctly, if you're honest with it, it'll start to show you that you are doing a ton of activities. First of all, you're doing a lot more than you think in a given week. Second of all, the next step would be is to segment these activities. Now, there's a lot of ways you can segment. The way we do it is I like to segment it into energy. I'm an energy person, right? I feed off of energy. I believe the work that we do is either energizing or energy depleting. It's one or the other. And if it's in the middle, we'll just put that as energy depleting. So we're either getting energy from doing it, like this conversation. I get energy from doing these. Mm-hmm. I love these. I do them all day. I'll do them whether you pay me or not. Like, I love doing this. Now, if you get me doing some admin function or doing payroll, it'll suck the life out of me, right? So when you do this activity organizer exercise and you start listing all of them, then you start putting them into high energy activities and low energy activities. I guarantee one thing will be true. Your low energy will be significantly more. I'm going to say 3 to 1 at least. That means you are doing 3 times of the activities that are taking energy from you, which means you don't want to do it.
Wow.
You don't like to do it. And energy feeds our creativeness. Energy feeds how well we think about things. Energy feeds our rationalization. And when we're doing things that are sucking energy from us, that are increasing, especially in negative emotions, look, when emotion is high, intelligence is low, we start making bad decisions. And we do things just out of automatic habit. Like you said before, it's like any rational person wouldn't continue to do these things, yet we're all very smart, intelligent, rational people that continue to do things that actually don't serve us. So that exercise right there will be the biggest eye-opening activity or exercise that you do, if you just take some time to do it, I promise you, you will see where all of the areas that you can now start focusing on. How do I let go of these? How do I delegate these?
Did you have an aha moment when you were running your practice where you're just like, or was it just like you were just the more that you actually let go? Because it sounded like there was a difference between you hiring someone, that's great, but you really didn't let go of it. But at some point in time, you did. And then what did you notice in the production, the numbers, the stats, or the time? Was it all three? Like you got more freedom from time, you got more money,
No.
you got.
No, initially, I believe every person that you hire has to be selfishly helping you in some way. I mean, directly helping you in some way. Well, when I started hiring people, my workload increased, not decreased. So when I hired therapists, I was still on the schedule. I didn't hire therapists and reduce my schedule. My schedule stayed the same, but my workload went up because I was still handling my patients and all the paperwork and everything that comes with it. And I was overseeing and managing them. So my workload increased. Same thing with the front desk. Same thing with pretty much everything, billing, insurance. I mean, you name the position, it was me doing some and then overseeing them. And what I realized the first thing, and it's in my book, the first thing I ever did was that front desk activity, because it didn't cost me anything to delegate that. It just took clarity on my part and communication. The first activity I actually truly delegated was bookkeeping. Bookkeeping was the first activity. I hated bookkeeping. If I got to the nearest,
I can't imagine why.
I mean, seriously, I remember this. My wife will attest to this. I was never within $2,000 a month in reconciliation, like not even close. Like I just became like, okay, it's about $2,400 off. Well, I know I'm at least 2,000 off, so that's only $400 off. Like I would celebrate that. So my reports were never. I could never use my reports. They weren't even close to being accurate. Chart of accounts, had no idea what that meant. All I did is bank balance accounting, which was I'd look at the bank account. If there's money, I'm in a good mood. If there's not, I'm in a bad mood. If there's a 3 payroll month, I'm in a terrible mood. I didn't really know how to budget.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I didn't do any of this stuff. Forecast, I didn't know any of it. So I went to someone who was financial. I said, "What do I do?" He goes, "Jamey, just go on Google, type in bookkeepers, get someone local. I mean, this was many years ago. Get someone local and just interview them and see who resonates with you." So that's what I did. And again, when I was on the phone, I told them very clearly what I wanted. I created the picture of once they came in and did this, how it would look, right? Begin with the end in mind. I said, here's what I want. At the end of the month, I want my books on point. I want my chart of accounts, my P&L statement, such that I understand it. I don't know what cost of goods sold means because I treat patients for a living. So I want to make sure this nomenclature makes sense to me. I want to understand my P&L is accurate and everything. And then she was like, yeah, okay. Actually, we're going to do a lot more than that, Jamey. I'm also going to help you with automated your billing and your pay and this and that. I go, oh, really? Because, oh, yeah. I didn't even know you could do all that. So when I realized that I was doing things that were sucking the life out of me, even though I think I was saving money, and that's always the excuse I always get from people. I think I'm saving money, and you're not. It's costing you a lot more. Within less than 30 days, my accounts were gorgeous. I understood what was going on. I was paying pennies of the dollar compared to what my time was worth, paying her a few $100. And I'm like, wow, this is what delegating the right way means. I got peace of mind and I got time back to then focus on other areas of my business that only I could do and do well. So that was like the biggest like the first thing I can remember that I delegated, bought back time, and did so much better in a particular area.
Yeah, because it's not like you just said, "Hey, I want you to take care of this and I don't want to know anything about it." I mean, it sounds like she really made it so that you understood, because you're right. I mean, you went to school to learn how to be a practitioner. You didn't learn, advanced accounting or balance sheets or profit and loss statements. But now you understood them, and now you knew what to look at.
Yeah, I think it's
And
so
I think
important,
that
Eric.
probably made it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting, but I think it's so important that we don't just abdicate something and take no responsibility. I had to take responsibility understanding it. I don't have to be an expert.
Right.
But if you're a business owner and you don't
That's
understand
correct.
what the hell profit loss means, okay, you're not taking your business seriously. This is just some hobby for you. Like, that's one thing I started doing. I'm like, Jamey, the reason you're working your ass off, making no money, sacrificing your family is because you're not taking this seriously. So I started to learn about these things to bring it more recent. Same thing with social media, same thing with marketing. You can just write a big check to a company, and there's lots of companies out there that will take your money. And if you just want to do that, good luck with you, because they're going to take your money. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But you need to understand this world. You need to understand digital marketing. You need to understand operations and HR, because you have to know who's out there at least enough to know who's legitimate or not. And I hate to say it, there's a lot of people that aren't going to be as legitimate as you think they are. So you need to mind your business to get educated enough to know what it is, so then you know what you can communicate with them of what you want, and you can at least monitor. Eric, here's one thing that I do when I hire someone, and I have lots of people, quote, working for me. I like to say working with me on my team, is I don't just use them for their service, like my bookkeeper. I use them to also teach me. Like, I use them as guides, as resources, because I want to understand this stuff enough so that I can make really good decisions. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to make the decisions for me. They're only going to give me advice. It's up to me. And the more I can understand about money, which is not a natural thing for me, I have a lot of hangups around money, as I know many of us do, but around money, around marketing, another hangup, right? All these things, the better I'm going to be. So when you do find that person, don't just give them your problem. Have them help you understand what this is. That's a critical factor when you're trying to let go, because you'll get more confidence in doing it. You'll have more confidence, and you will be in a collaboration type of relationship, not an abdication, which is basically you just take your problem, give it to them, and say fix it, and then go back to just working.
So part of the art of letting go is actually taking responsibility for understanding what it is that whatever function, whatever thing that you are letting go, it isn't just not confronting it. You still have to have some, knowingness about it, so that you know what it looks like as it's in your head of what visually you want this area, how to perform. You just can't let it go and say, I'm never going to touch this thing again. I think that's part of the art of it.
Exactly.
I don't know if
And
I articulated that very well, but yeah.
Yeah, I have this conversation with owners all the time. We will always, as human beings, lean towards the thing that is most comfortable to us. True statement?
Yeah.
Okay. What is most comfortable to us? The thing that we know the most. And what we know the most, and what we've been educated on the most, and what we have a passion about is patient care. So we are always going to move towards the thing we know the most. That's why treating patients is so hard to let go, and anything around that, because we know it. It's comfortable to us. However, each one of us made a conscious decision to start a business. the business of physical therapy, the business of occupational therapy, the business of veterinarians, or whatever the business is. But if we are not then learning the business of this craft, then we are not taking true responsibility. And that's a problem. Because then we put money into something trying to say, well, Jamey says to let go, so I'm going to let go and delegate this. But we just give it to somebody. Of course, it doesn't work the way we think. So what do? We take everything back because we're trying to now save money.
Mm-hmm.
And then we become stuck. There's a lot, business is a complicated thing. I try to simplify it for people the best I can and saying, business is the 4 M's. It's marketing, management, money, and mindset. The idea that us as practice owners, we have a responsibility to focus from a higher level, looking at all the areas of business. And there are other talented people out there. I'll bet, I know it's more difficult now than ever to attract them and hire them, but there are other talented people out there that with your tutelage, with your teaching, could make them amazing clinicians. But none of these people can do quite what you can do. They can't create the relationships. They don't have the vision. They can't create the quite support that you can. So we have to lean into this ownership role. Some people call it CEO, but I think it's bigger than CEO. I don't think we're CEOs either. CEO is still an employee of the business. We're owners, right? We're entrepreneurs. We're looking at this from a very unique place that only we can look at it because it's our vision. And if we don't learn to let go, then we'll never truly have control of our business, because I believe having control is letting go of control and trusting in other people, but trusting in a way that you're using metrics to monitor them for sure, or monitor the result you want, and incorporating systems and processes to help them get predictable results. So you're not just letting go, you're letting go with incorporating true things of how organizations become organizations. The reason they're organizations, Eric, is because they're organized. And we can use those same principles as well.
What did you notice about your life when things really started to, get to a point where that it was approximating how you thought it would look? Meaning, I'm sure you had more time and more money, but what did you find yourself doing at that point?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really hit me is I began to have an identity crisis. I've connected myself so much with, I'm a physical therapist, I'm a PT. I didn't know who I was if I wasn't treating somebody. And I started to change my language. I started changing that I'm a business owner in the physical therapy field. I'm an owner of a physical therapy practice. When people said, what do you do? Oh, I own a physical therapy practice. Now, if they asked me, are you a PT? I said, yeah, I'm a PT by trade. So I started shifting the language of who I was, because I believe language is powerful. The words you tell yourself is what you believe. So when I started shifting that, I started to look at myself differently. And I started to realize, if I'm a business owner, what does a business owner do? Well, a business owner doesn't have to keep themselves busy 24/7. My schedule was no longer someone else's. My schedule used to be my patients. I was there anytime they wanted me to be. So the biggest thing I started getting back is time. And I used that time not to fill it up with more stuff, which is very easy to do, but I used it to have time to think. How many of us, Eric, truly have time to just think, to just be with our thoughts, to think about what's happening right now in our business, in the world, in our industry? Because when we have time to think, it's amazing how much clearer you get. And then you're able to clearly communicate to your team, communicate about the vision of where the business is going, communicate about where we need to be, who we need to hire, how we need to handle certain things, instead of doing what most of us do: react. Busy, 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 overwhelmed,
Right.
overwhelmed, overwhelmed. Every person I talk to, same word. I'm overwhelmed. Can you imagine you're making decisions in that overwhelmed state? And how good do you think those decisions are, which is then creating a worse situation for you? So the only way to change that is you have to get time back, which means you have to delegate. Then you don't just fill your schedule again. My business started to get better when I had more time and didn't just stuff it with more things to do. Eric, that is hard to do. That is hard because our
That's for sure.
society is about the busier you are, the better. We celebrate how busy you are. I don't know if you've ever had this conversation, but people say, "How you doing? Are you busy?" Yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, I'm really busy. I'm super busy. I'm incredibly busy. It's like we're wearing the badge of honor of busyness on our chest. People come to me because, Jamey, you staying busy? Try not to. You and I talked about that, right? You staying
Yeah.
busy? I try not to. I leave space on my calendar, lots of space. Not every day, but the days that I have my days to just, Jamey, just be, I have hours of space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how many ideas and how many things I'm able to think of. So when I am like highly focused, I'm able to communicate with such clarity and precision that that conversation or those conversations or something like this, where I show up ready to go, breeds
Yep.
exponential results. Time does not breed results. Clarity, focus, intention, and action breeds results, not just time.
I love the I love the fact that when you talked about the identity, because it's so easy to get fixed in an identity. And that's so dangerous because really you can be who you want to be, and not to sound, I don't know how that sounds. It sounds kind of corny, I guess, but I think you do have to have the ability to, look, I mean, there are points in times where you have to be a practitioner, but there's also times where you have to be a CFO, right? And you have to be an owner, and you have to be somebody, you have to be a parent, or you have to be a sibling. You have to be these things, and you have to adopt that identity at that point in time. And I think that fluidity is kind of cool because, you're not just fixed in that well, there's Jamey, a PT. That's all he is. When in actuality, I mean, you're a philosophical thinker, you're an owner, you're all these other things as well. I don't know. I don't like it when someone just says, well, this is my identity and that's it. I think you have to be able to be mobile,
Well,
so
I
to
love
speak.
this, and we could get into this conversation. People love to put you in a box because it helps them.
No, that's for sure.
It's easy for them to say, oh, Eric's a financial advisor. So whatever I think about a financial
Yes.
advisor, that's what Eric is. I could be completely wrong, but it doesn't matter because that story fits me, right? And if enough people tell you, Eric, who you are, guess what? You believe it. We do this in physical therapy all the
Yep.
time. I'm a physical therapist. I'm this, I'm that. We're creating our own box. And if you ask other people outside of our profession, what is a physical therapist? Who is a physical therapist? They'll just give a different answer every single time because we don't know who we are. And I think we have to spend a lot more time determining who we are because each of us as individuals, you're much more than a physical therapist. You're much more than anyone's telling you. One of our cornerstones of values, of mottos in Practice Freedom U is authenticity. Authenticity is being the you that you could be if you could just be you. It's the you
It's a lot
that
of
you could
use.
be if you could just be you. That's authenticity, your authentic self. You know what I am? I'm just Jamey. I'm Jamey when I show up
Yep.
here. I'm Jamey with my kids. I'm Jamey with my wife. I'm Jamey with my staff. All I have to focus on is just being a better version of Jamey. I don't have to worry about what the hell anyone else is thinking or what anyone else thinks of me or says, you're this, you're that. I'm just Jamey. And it's funny how people are surprised when I'm able to talk to someone like you about financials or talk to someone about marketing or talk to someone else about some other area of business, or talk to someone that's not even in the healthcare field and they ask me about, their business, and I'm able to help them in their business. I'm just Jamey. My job is just to get a little better every day to try to support and help and impact others. That's all I do. And I do that better when I have more time, and I do that better when I have a great team supporting me, and I'm open to let go to have more control for me. And of course, that produces more money and lifestyle and other opportunities as well. But that's the thing that I think when I work with my clients, I really help them on who is the you if you could just be you without all the crap piled on you. Just who are you, and lead with that. That becomes your branding. That becomes your identity versus trying to be something that you're just not. That is torture, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. When you, because you talk to a lot of physical therapy owners, and I know everyone, there's probably all different situations, but I mean, when you're trying to teach them this art of letting go, are there things that you run into that almost all of them seem to, dramatize, in the beginning stages of trying to teach them how to do this, that you see that is, I guess you could call a universal problem. How's that experience usually go?
Yeah, the number one thing is people know they should delegate. People know they should let go. So it's not a logical, rational thinking. And let's face it, we're all emotional beings. We justify it through logic and rationalization. So it's not that they don't know to do it, but they begin to justify it by not doing it. And they justify it simply with, I'm saving money. That's really where it comes. Every single person I've talked to, it's about saving money. Because they look at delegation, they look at hiring, let's say, someone like you to help them with their financial picture, their financial outlook, hiring a bookkeeper, hiring, someone to handle some patient care or someone to handle some other things. They look at it as an expense. That fundamental mindset is what's keeping them broke and working their butts off. See, if you shift that to say, no, I'm going to hire someone else that is passionate, that is skillful in this area that I don't particularly like. First of all, you have to believe you're not good at that area. And you have to be honest to say you don't like that. That's hard for people that have been praised of how smart they are and how great they are and how well they have done in their lives, to almost feel like, wait a minute, if I give that up, that's like I'm not good. Like there's a deep psychological thing going on there. And I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, and it is consistent across the line. So that's the biggest thing that I see is they use this idea of I'm saving money or I can't afford it because they don't value their time enough. That's the biggest thing, Eric. We don't, as owners, value our time. Our time, I do this other exercise about how much is your time worth. I've never had someone say their time was worth $50 an hour. Never. The minimum, I think, was $100. The highest was like $1,000 or $1,200 an hour. So you tell me, who is worth more than $100 an hour on your team? And the answer is no one. So that means every time you do an activity, an exercise that someone else could do for significantly less, you are, quote, losing money because your time could be better spent generating hundreds of dollars versus paying someone $20 or $40 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that shift in thinking will open up a whole new vision. Is it a risk? Yes. Let's just put that out there, Eric. We're in business. It's a risk when you when you studied to try to get into PT school is a risk. There's no guarantee, but you did it. When you're in PT school, no guarantee you're going to pass the boards, but you did it. No guarantee you're going to get a job. You did it. You opened up your practice, no guarantee there was going to be any patients, but you did it. But then all of a sudden we're a business owner, and so many of us hide behind it's risky. It's all a risk.
That's true.
It's all
It
a
is.
risk. But guess what? That's what's the exciting part. Bet on yourself. Bet on your time. And delegate these other things. And I promise you, I've never seen someone not tremendously succeed when they surrounded themselves with great people and they focused themselves on the things that they had to do to build and grow their business. I've never seen it.
We used to do an exercise with people. I don't know if the math was ever right, but to your point, it was like, how much are you worth an hour? And I would just take the revenue for an owner, just take the revenue of their business. Say you're doing $1 million divided by 2,000, and I'm like, yeah, you're worth $500 an hour. Did you know that? And they're like, wow, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah. Because you're the one driving this thing. So you see how much you're worth. Where are you spending your time at? And that always seemed to work to that degree. But yeah, you have something there. I think people over time, especially owners, they forget the amount of risk that they took to start this thing. And for whatever reason, they seem to be more conservative as time goes on. It's interesting to see them, make decisions based upon that, because when you first started, it's balls to the wall, man. We don't know if this thing's going to work or not. And you can't lose that mentality.
Well, I got a response to that. And the response is this.
What's that?
When the vision is big enough, the facts don't matter. When the vision is big enough, the facts don't matter. You see, when I had a vision of going to PT school, I didn't care what it would take to do it. I studied. I sacrificed. I didn't go to the party. I said no to my friends. I went to the library.
Mm-hmm.
I busted my ass. I didn't count how many hours. I didn't clock in and out of hours. I didn't care what I had to do because my focus was on the prize. And once I got into school, my focus was on passing the boards. I didn't care how much I had to study. Honestly, I didn't care how much I was paying. And I was paying a lot of money. I didn't have the money. I took out loans. Did I bitch and complain? Nope, I didn't care because I was glued to what I wanted. I was glued to that vision. And then when I opened up my practice, I was focused on, I'm going to open up my practice. I didn't think twice about the loan I took out. I didn't think twice about it was, I don't know what the hell I'm really doing here. And then all of a sudden, I lost my vision. You see, my vision became the day-to-day. My vision became, if I can just get a few more patients in the door. You see, Eric, I lost my vision. I lost my purpose of what I'm trying to accomplish. And then everything became almost I don't know, I was almost negotiating with myself. And that's what I see with others as well. They did the same thing I did. And then I ask them, what do you want? And they can't answer it. And I said, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have something you're going after, if you don't have something that moves you, of course it's just better to focus on the here and now and the present. You got to get something that is meaningful to you. So that's an exercise that we do called the bigger vision. It's getting people out into this future, out into what is it that you want? And then doing what Simon Sinek talks about famously in his book, start with why. What do you want and why is it important to you? Because if you don't do that first, then you won't have the guts and the grit to go through the shit that we have to do to get there. Just like we put the hours of studying and the sacrifice and didn't think twice about it. We need that in business now. And if you do, you'll be just as successful as you were every step of the way. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, it's going to be hard. But if it's what you want, when I worked with one of my first coaches, he said, Jamey, what do you want? I said, not to have to go to work at freaking 7:00 in the morning on a Monday. That was it. He goes, so you want to make sure you have a business that could run without you, make the money and not have, I said, yep. And I will do anything. Well, Eric, I didn't realize it was going to take me 9 years to achieve it. 9 years. I said it in 2004, and in 2013, I took my name off of the schedule, and I never treated another patient by choice, and I had time, and I didn't have to go to work on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. I don't think people realize that it does take some time, though, to get these things. Some people just are so impatient, expect it to happen overnight, and it just doesn't happen overnight.
And Eric, the other thing too,
I
know we're going on a lot of topics, but the other thing too is we don't know how to deal with failure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not as a business owner, but you're a smart guy, you're a numbers guy, financial guy. I imagine you didn't fail a ton in school. I would imagine your math scores were pretty good. I mean, you don't have to divulge, but I imagine you were pretty good in that arena, as was I. SAT scores aside, but in school, I got pretty good grades. In other words, I didn't fail that much. I succeeded with good grades, which then our society and our grading and our schooling system tells you how great you are. And then what happens? You start to believe it. And then you go into business. Business has a very different report card. The report card is your bank account, your time, and your happiness. And you start to then have difficulty with those, and you don't know how to handle it. So we constrict, we get smaller, and we focus on what we know how to do. Treat patients, and we hope and pray. Well, guess what? Hope ain't a strategy.
Nope.
Instead of doing the things we did to get there.
I think another thing that I was really impressed because I had a similar experience in that I was the only advisor for our firm for 7 or 8 years. And, again, I had all I did all day long, was have appointments with practice owners.
Yeah.
And, of course I realized at some point in time, like, I mean, look, I love talking to these people, but I don't want to do this for the rest of my life like this. And, I had to figure out a way to get everything that worked on a piece of paper so that I could train someone else to do it. And it was nerve-wracking, but I did it. And now, it's been about 6 or 7 years. I don't treat, well, when I say I don't treat, I don't really service, but maybe just a handful of people just because I enjoyed some of that. But I think the thing that I'm most pleased with is just how well my other advisors are as practitioners. They're better than me. And I'm not afraid to say that, because when I go into and I start talking to them and I start seeing some of the things that they're doing with their clients and all that, and I'm like, I never did that. I never did that. And I guess the only thing I take credit for is the fact that I told them, these are the expectations that I have of how to treat your clients. There were some non-negotiables that I need you to do. And then I let them kind of express their own art in the financial end, so to speak. And, I've seen other practitioners as they try to get other practitioners trained, you got to do it this way. You got to do it this way. You got to do it this way. And I think there's some validity to that, but you also have to let people kind of, do what they do well. And, that's one thing that I've also seen,
Eric,
as part of
this is what's great. See, you and I are in different professions, but the reality is we do the exact same thing. You provide a solution to a problem for an audience, right? You provide creating wealth and security and leaving on top and all of that stuff, which is no different than what I provide a solution to help a group of audience practice owners, make more money, have more time, be more who they are, and create this amazing business and, all of that stuff. But the same thing is, I have 6 other coaches. And those coaches, I create the vision of what the company is. I create the values we have, as you call them, non-negotiables. I create the process and how we do things, just like you did. I went through your process, the onboarding. But what I encourage is the art of coaching. The art is them. The art is that they use all of this to create their own art. And that's what's magical. And I have to have enough, what's the word?
Trust.
Trust. I think that's the word.
Trust?
I have to have enough trust, and I have to have enough belief in myself to allow them to do what they do. And then, of course, I'm there to support. I'm there to guide. And of course, we have metrics. I'm sure you have metrics, because the metrics are the results.
Yeah, you have quality control.
Of course.
Yeah.
But this is what practice owners, they have to be doing the same thing. And you cannot do it when you're in the business. That was, look, when I had my businesses, when I had my private practices, I still treated a couple people because I wanted to. I was like, yeah, I'll work with you. Some people I never even charged. I said, I'm not even in the books. I can't even charge you if I want. I'll just treat you because I enjoy it. Right now, I have a handful of private executive coaching clients. Why? Because I enjoy doing it. But you know what? These other people, these amazing coaches I have, they help me build, they help me create the time that I have right now and the money I want to make and the impact I want to make. I can't do it all on my own, but you got to swallow that ego a little bit. And you have. And that's why you are where you are. Other business owners will look at you and know right away what you've done. But you're the guy that has to give credit to everyone else. And when something goes wrong, you own it. See, that's what true leadership is. Not when a problem goes, you blame. That's what entrepreneurism, that's where we are. My job is to praise my entire team, all of the clients, and if there's a problem, I own it. That's what being a leader is. And if we had more business owners that thought like that wanted to become that, it would elevate the entire industry, the entire profession. I know not everyone's going to do that, but I'm going to tell you, it's possible. There's nothing stopping you because there's not a lack of people that need our services, that need our help. But you hit it right on the head.
And the industry, and the industry 100% needs that. And it's the responsibility of all the owners out there to really, listen to what we were just talking about there and really take inventory of yourself and, see what it is that you can do to be a better owner. I call them owner investors. And so that you can, build a life that you really want to live. Okay. Hey, Jamey, tell people how to get in touch with you if they want to connect with you.
Yeah. So the best thing to do, you can go on my website. I got some free resources there. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Jamey Schrier. You can email me if you have a question or anything, Jamey at practicefreedomu.com. If you're interested in talking more about your business, how coaching or executive coaching might help serve you, feel free to reach out. We can set up a time as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I got to think of some more stuff we can talk about because we could probably go on for like 2 hours, but we'll stop for here. And everyone, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.